In today's tutorial video, I want to quickly go through the command screen at the airports on Tower Simulator 3. So we're going to head to St. Thomas Island and do a quick stint here using runway 10, and we're going to keep everything default, 19th of August with light cloudy weather at 8 AM. So for this stint, what I'm going to be doing is using the command screen on the right hand side. You can access this by pressing F6, which takes you down to this screen here. You can still use the other screens as usual with this mode, but I'm going to be using no voice recognition whatsoever to command the aircraft around the airport. What we're going to do here is click on FeelThere 4873, go down to the command screen here, and you can see that these buttons have appeared. When you get a little hashtag like this, it means that you'll be able to tell it that information with the next set of commands. So we can tell the aircraft pushback approved, expect runway, and then it's either 10 or 28. Now we're using runway 10 today, as you can see here. By pressing F4 you bring this screen up, and then we'll tell it runway 10, and that's all good. We don't need to tell it anything else at the moment, and then click send.
Pushback approved, expect runway 10. FeelThere 4873.
So the aircraft has received the information and will now action that and be pushed back, expecting runway 10. If we go to the F3 screen, the D bright, you'll see soon that we have an aircraft on arrival. What we'll do is click on them and it will highlight them yellow, and we can come down to the command screen here and tell them exactly what we want them to do. But because they're too far away at the moment, away from these red lines, we can't quite command them just yet.
St. Thomas ground, FeelThere 4873 ready to taxi.
So, FeelThere 4873 is now ready to taxi, and we need to tell them, to come down to runway 10 via Alpha. So if we go over to the command screen again, we can tell them, actually, sorry, we've got the wrong aircraft selected. You have to make sure you click on them. They go a more purpley colour when you click on them. And then we will tell them to go to runway 10 via Alpha.
Runway 10 via Alpha. FeelThere 4873.
So they will now begin taxiing to runway 10 via Alpha, which will be shown by these blue arrows. We also had the aircraft on arrival calling up to speak to us, which is FeelThere 1035. We'll click on them to highlight them yellow, head down to the command screen and tell them that we have runway 10 clear to land.
Runway 10 clear to land. FeelThere 1035.
It's worth noting that you can also type commands in this box as well. So if we select FeelThere 4873, we can come over to this screen and tell them, by clicking in this box, runway 10, line up behind next landing aircraft. So as soon as the next aircraft touches down, they will begin to line up on the runway once there is space. We hit enter, send them that,
line up behind next landing aircraft.
and then as soon as the next aircraft comes in, touches down and begins rolling down the runway, they will line up. So here is our arrival on runway 10 right now, FeelThere 1035. And once they touch down and start rolling down the runway, you'll see that 4873 will now begin to line up on the runway. This can be a really useful feature to use if you need to get aircraft in and out in quick succession. And now that FeelThere 1035 is off the runway, we can tell 4873 to take off. So we'll tell them, runway 10, cleared for immediate takeoff. You can either use takeoff or immediate takeoff depending on how quickly you want the aircraft to get off the runway. If you choose just takeoff, they will take a second and then spool up the engines and get going. If you tell them immediate takeoff, they will not come to a stop. They will just get straight onto the runway, keep rolling and get moving. It saves you those few extra seconds if you've got a lot of arrivals coming in. Now we come to 1035. We need to tell them to taxi to the ramp. This little green arrow will tell you which gate they're going to use. You can zoom in all the way on this if you need a bit of a better view. But we need to tell them to taxi to the ramp via Alpha. So, you've already selected the aircraft here. Taxi to ramp via Alpha.
Taxi to ramp via Alpha. FeelThere 1035.
And they will now turn, and as you can see via the blue arrows that come up, they'll taxi down here on Alpha. Again, this is a really useful tool for playing the game without the need for any voice recognition or microphones, and it means that it opens up the game to a lot more players worldwide.